Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Carly R.
And today we are joined by our very special guest, Jake. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I enjoy y'all's podcast a lot.
I know, man. Yeah. You're one of our dedicated Patreon members, and we appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Follow y'all on Twitter. See the questions you ask. It's good stuff.
Thanks, man. Where are you from, Jake?
I'm from Macon, Georgia, a little south of Atlanta.
Now, because I was thinking the whole time, what's the relationship to the Dukes of Hazzard and Hazzard County? Are you close to there?
Are you really going to relate me to the Dukes of Hazzard?
I mean, I think it's fair.
I mean, it is one of the great TV shows of all time, but Hazzard County is up in North Georgia, up above Atlanta. We're south.
Okay.
We're right in the middle of the state, dead in the middle of Georgia.
Okay. And when were you first introduced to recovery?
I first went into recovery on 5/17/2018.
All right. And you have two separate recovery dates, and what are those?
My alcohol clean date, I'm an alcoholic, and it was 2/15/13.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it up for Lent that year. And then my gambling date now is 2/22/21.
Nice. Carly, have you ever given up anything for Lent? And do you give stuff up for Lent?
So I have not yet this year.
Okay.
But that was my excuse when I first got clean and people were wondering why I wasn't drinking. I was like, I gave it up for Lent. And just played it off as that way because it just was
Catholic loophole.
Yeah.
That's exactly the reason I did it.
That's a sweet segue into recovery. Way to cover your tracks. All right. Well,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
You there? Yeah, you don't have to explain why you quit drinking. You just say, I gave it up for Lent.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty slick.
But I have something else. I think it's another way. Step one in the 12 steps is admitting and accepting you're an alcoholic. I think it's a way to not accept that you're an alcoholic. I think it's a way to just stop drinking instead of actually.
Yeah. A little bit of a reservation.
That you have a problem. Yeah. It's giving you a chance. It's giving you an out. I've got a few days left, of this, and if I want to, only gave it up for Lent. I'm still going, but
that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all that out of the way, we're going to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So take it away.
Feel free to ask any questions or anything during this.
Oh yeah.
Because it's that way also I know you're there. Anyway, let's see. I started. I grew up in a house with an alcoholic father, and he was a functioning alcoholic. We got in a business, and he'd get to work every morning and didn't drink at work, as far as I know. But after every day, he would go home and he would, he'd go to the bar, he'd drink there, and then he'd basically finish drinking until he passed out every night. That was my memories.
That's
of
healthy.
Yeah,
that's functioning.
It's functioning for half a day, I guess.
Yeah.
He did. Dad did make it to most of I played a lot of sports, and he would come to the games, and it would always be interesting of where. I didn't know. I thought he just didn't like people, but what he would do is say, like he was at a baseball game, he would be out in right field by himself out there. And instead of being around people, the reason he was doing that was because he had a few drinks and didn't want people to realize it. And so he would always separate himself from the other people. And it took me to get older to understand why. I understand it now.
Yeah.
Well, I started drinking by stealing Dad's alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
He would always have a bottle either in his car, his golf bag, or both, or wherever, and I always knew the hiding places, and I would always go and find it. It was blended Canadian whiskey called OFC. It was always a pint of, and I always thought it was like top of the line. It looked fancy, Even Old Thompson could look fancy.
No
in
Canadian
a jar.
whiskey is fucking fancy.
Exactly. So that's what I kind of started doing early on, 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in that range. And I loved it. I mean, it was what I wanted. I liked the taste of it. I tried beer. I hated beer.
Really?
I didn't like wine. Yeah, beer tastes like horse piss to me.
Okay.
Even as at the depths of my alcoholism, I could never acquire a beer taste.
Huh.
I could acquire a Scotch taste.
Ooh.
I could acquire gin.
You're a special kind of animal, man.
Yeah, I'm a hard liquor guy, and so I never drank beer, which was always weird. I always had to have a bottle of liquor, and that is not a good thing, actually, that you can't drink beer. It's just not a really good. It's people are like, oh, that's good. You don't like beer? No, that means I'm gonna go after the hard stuff. So let's see. In my high school days, we had liquor stores that we could go by because being a small, big town, people knew people, and they would let you get away with it. And there was one right around the corner. We'd ride our bikes up to. Me and my neighbor would ride our bikes and go get as much alcohol as we wanted, and go down to my basement and drink all night. And it never got to me. The problems never got to me other than bad grades. I never got in trouble in my high school days of drinking. I never got caught with a DUI at that time. And so I never had consequences. And it was what was expected at my house. People drank. Yeah. And so what are they going to do? What are they going to say? And so it escalated. It started escalating in my college years. I went to college. First semester, I flunked out. Got a 0.00 grade point average.
God
real
damn.
hard to do.
Mm-hmm. That's impressive.
I take pride in that 0.00.
Honestly, those people should be rewarded just as much, just slightly less than the 4.0s, because that's hard to do. Getting an absolute zero is difficult.
It is. It is. It's called not going to class. Is what it is.
That's true.
I even failed volleyball. And that was hard to do. So, but I started drinking a lot in college. Somebody's dog is hungry.
Yeah, we apologize to our listeners for the loud dog.
It's okay. And so instead of going back to school, my parents made me an offer of coming to work for the family, or either get your grades up. And they made me a big money offer, and I took it. It was I didn't like school. I hated it, and so I took that offer, and then I started making money, and that's where it all went downward. I had ample money, ample opportunity. I was living out away from the home, and that's when my gambling really escalated to. I had an illegal. In Georgia, gambling is illegal across the board, and we had illegal bookies. And if you go to the bar as much as I did, you would find those bookies. They would be hanging out watching sports,
So you were a sports bettor.
That was my first choice. That was what got me introduced into gambling was sports.
Okay.
Go back a little bit, which is very interesting. My senior year high school essay, you get to pick what you want to write about, and the topic, and I chose compulsive gambling. This was I'm 47 now. This was when I was 18 years old. I mean, gambling wasn't a thing. Compulsive gambling wasn't even recognized back then. No, very much. And I chose that. I mean, with hindsight now, seeing that I went to the program 30 years later, it's really ironic. But so I was all around gambling at the time too. Back in those days, and I knew bookmakers. I knew the guys. Became friends with a lot of them, and so I had them at my beck and call. I could make a phone call any day and put a bet on anything, and I'm making enough money where even if I couldn't pay it at the time, they didn't care. They would let me run a tab. Yeah. And I could, they knew I was good for it, and if I wasn't good for it, my family would probably take care of it. That's what they knew, and that's what ended up having happened a few times. So my 20s, I bought a house, started gambling heavily, drinking every night. Got my first DUI at age 20. Got out of it because of family family people know everybody in the town, so they made phone calls. They made phone calls and got it dropped to reckless driving, so I didn't have to lose my driver's license. I didn't have a DUI on the record, so it really never happened in my mind.
Yeah.
And so it didn't slow me down. There was no consequences. So about 2 years into owning my first house, my gambling debts and alcoholism caused me to get real behind on bills. I didn't realize it, and one day my parents are reading the Saturday paper, and there's my name under foreclosures. My house is under foreclosure strictly for.
They put that in the newspaper?
They do it. They have to. They have to run it 3 weeks in a row if your house is under foreclosure.
Holy shit!
That way, because it says it's to be auctioned off at the courthouse steps. It gives notice to. So they found it in there, and they helped me get it out. It's a kind of a recurring, thing that they would help me, and so they bailed me out there again and saved my house. And I kind of slowed down for a little while, especially on the gambling side, and got my shit together for a little while. And then I was doing really well. I was still going out and drinking and partying, but I was paying my bills. I was making good money. I was starting to run a family business and making. I was doing well, and I met my wife, ex-wife now. I met her when I was 27, and we got married. And she was a partier. She liked to have fun. She liked to drink. She liked to go out, and so she didn't recognize the fact that I was an alcoholic. She probably had an idea that I was a party guy, but she didn't realize I was an alcoholic. She knew my dad was, and she knew the issues there, but. I was fun. I was a happy drunk. I was never mean to people. I never fought. I was that guy that wanted to have a blast.
Were you a happy drunk, Carly? I feel like you were half and half. You were fun up to you crossed the line, and then you were not fun anymore.
I was fun until somebody else crossed the line.
Oh, okay.
And then I would get angry and...
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see... I've seen you angry regular. I don't want to see angry drunk, Carly. That'd be terrible. Okay, so anyway, back to you.
So we were engaged to get married, and I didn't slow down going out. I would always go to work. I did what Dad did. I'd go to work, and then I would meet some guys out for drinks, and thinking that that's what you do, And so sometimes those days would go from 5 to 6 for a happy hour to 5 to 11, 12 at night. And next thing you know, she's driving up to find me and get me home, and it just was an ugly situation. There was one instance that this is one of my crazy stories. There's numerous of them, but I was walking out of a bar, couldn't hardly see, walking in my car like I'm going to drive. But all of a sudden, a 9mm gets put in my head, right at my car.
Oh shit!
And it's a Vietnamese lady who didn't speak good English, and she put a gun in my head and made me get in the car, and she wanted me to go kill her boyfriend for her.
What the hell?
Yeah. So we went on a joyride down the road, for about 45 minutes, and she's screaming and cussing at me and holding a gun at my head, and I didn't, sobers you up real quick. And it's one time I'm praying that cops would pull us over. One time I'm wanting for them to pull me over.
You could probably get out of that DUI too. Be like, I didn't want to drive, sir. She made me.
Right, and she's got a 9mm at my head.
Yeah.
And so we get off at an exit on the interstate, and happens to be a red light, and so we slowing down at it, and I open the door and I jump and I run as fast as I could, and because I didn't see any other way to get it out of it.
Yeah.
And so I ran, and there was a gas station. You know how there's always gas stations at exit ramps on the interstates. I ran as fast as I could inside that gas station, and ran in and screamed and ran out of the gas station, and where it was, there was woods back behind the gas station, and I'm back there hiding.
I can only imagine a gas station attendant whether or not to take you seriously.
Trying to get anybody to take me seriously. That story is, but the good thing that I had going for me was they had video.
Okay.
Nobody believed me. Cops didn't believe me. the lady in the gas station, my parents, my brother, my future wife. Nobody believed me until they saw the video because the lady came in waving a gun looking for me. And,
for you specifically?
Yeah, where did he go? Like you could hear her saying, "Where'd he go? Where'd he go?" Like that. And
wait, she came into the gas station looking for you.
Yes, into the gas station looking for me after I ran. Anyway, and everybody thought this was me trying to mess with a woman, all that, but they saw it on video and they ended up catching her. And it was just one of those days of being a drunk and putting myself in a bad situation. And didn't slow me down though. Didn't stop me. It should have, but it didn't. Let's see.
Well, at that point, your life is pre-disastered. What are the odds that's ever going to happen again?
Yeah.
Just keep going. This isn't going to ever happen again.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of Jake's stories. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other ones, but that's one of the good ones. So we ended up getting married. We had a huge wedding. It was a great wedding, and the early on part of the marriage was great. We were happy. We were making a lot of money. She came from a wealthy family. I thought, I'd found it, and we had our first child about a year and a half in, and it was that. So one of my joys. I have two daughters, but that was my first one, and I settled down. I was going to be the husband and the dad and the businessman, and I was going to be that perfect guy everybody thought I was, and that just when you're an alcoholic, that just doesn't last long, and that itch to stop at a bar on the way home from work after a stressful day would come back, and those days would lead to problems and issues at home. And so what we thought was my issue was I got to get away from my hometown. I got to get away from everybody. Mm-hmm. So we moved towns. We moved to her hometown, which was about an hour and a half south of Macon, and we moved down there, and I opened up a restaurant down there, and that's where my gambling really escalated. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any, I wasn't happy. I didn't have friends. I didn't know anything to do. So first things I did was I went to a local bar. I found a good watering hole, and I found a bookie, and I found a local bookie, and I became friends with them. And so I could bet anything I wanted to, and I could drink as much as I wanted to. And then I had as much income as I needed because I owned the business now. It was mine, so I could use all that money for whatever I wanted to, and that's what I did. I drank and I gambled away. Got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of money starting a business, and we thought a second child would help, would help our marriage, and it would make me be a better guy. And so we had another kid, another daughter, and about a month before my second child was born, I had to shut the business down. So going into having two kids with
was that a result of your gambling?
Yes, I gambled every bit of payroll, taxes, everything. I gambled it all away. It was back when I don't know if y'all know much about gambling, but if you remember when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker. He was an online gambler. He did it through Party Poker. It was a website called Party Poker, and he advanced through tournaments online. It had never been done before, and it was new. And so he advanced through that, and he won. So what did I do? I thought I was as good as him, so I joined Party Poker, and it was so easy to put your credit card or put your debit card on that site and put as much money. Just all it was a click of a button, and you could sit in your office and you could play live blackjack, live hold'em poker, whatever you wanted. You could do it right there, in my office, and that's what I did instead. So I gambled it all away, and we had our second child. I had no job. I had let the insurance lapse at the time, so we ended up owing the hospital a ton of money because insurance didn't cover the child after it was born. It covered her, but it would not cover the after the child in the hospital. So so that's kind of where everything came to light with her. She started doing some research, and we started going to marriage counseling, and things came out about me gambling and then infidelity. I started being a really bad husband. Started talking to other women. I was just miserable. I was depressed. I was just I was just a bad person.
Yeah.
And so we get divorced, and I have to move back home. And I moved back home, and I come knocking on the door of my parents' house. It's a humbling experience when you ask mom and dad to come move back in with you. You know, can I live in the downstairs? And I'm a 34, 35-year-old guy living in the basement of my parents' house. And but they brought me in and hired me. I came back to work for the family. It was just kind of expected. And so I came back to work at the restaurant here, and started piecing my life back together. But at this time, I had no recourse at home because there was nobody to answer to. I was divorced. My kids lived 2 hours away. I didn't have to worry about them. And I just partied, man. I went running through women. I was drinking. I got 3 DUIs in 4 weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah. And you'll figure out about those in a couple minutes. But, I thought that I could get away with anything. I knew everybody. I knew all the police. Police would come in and eat at the restaurant. I knew them all. They weren't going to actually lock me up, That doesn't happen. And so after the 3rd DUI, I started thinking that I had a problem. How it hit me, I might have a problem here. And I always thought that going into AA or going in, was weak. Only people that aren't strong go to those programs. And I was better than that. And so what did I do? I gave up alcohol for them. And I did it. It wasn't easy. It was pretty hard. But what I would do is I would go to work and I'd go home. I wouldn't leave the house. I would go to work and I'd go home. It was basically a detox by myself. It was like going into a detox facility, but I just did it at home. And the whole time I had gambling to fall back on. And it was readily available on my telephone or computer. I could get on any site, bet on any sporting event in the world. I could play live poker, live blackjack. So that's what I did. Instead of drinking, I just laid into the gambling heavy. All the while I'm driving around with a license that I don't know if it's good or bad or whatever. Yeah. And, I've got 3 DUIs pending over my head, and I'm not even worried about it. Like I don't go to court. I don't show up to anything. Wow. And I'm just letting it go. And nobody ever said anything, for 4 or 5 years, nobody said anything. Whoa. And, so after a couple of years of not drinking, I thought I was good. I had it beat, and I got back out in the dating scene, and I met a girl, and we started dating. And fast forward real quick, we're getting married in 3 weeks. So you'll see she stuck with me. But the first thing I found out about her, she was in AA. She was clean and sober and been in AA probably at the time. I think she was 17 years sober.
Wow.
18. Yeah. And she had a strong program. But what was so just different about her was how honest she was about everything. Like, it was like the first thing she told me after going out on a couple of dates is everything she had done in the past and all this stuff. And I had never had anybody talk like that. I'm an addict who hides everything, and nobody's going to know my deepest, darkest secrets. But there she is. She's laying everything out on the line. And the whole time she's asking me if I've done any of this. And I'd tell her these crazy drunk stories thinking they were funny and those kind of things. But I wouldn't tell her the deep, dark secrets that I had. And I just couldn't. I was, I didn't want her to know. And what I've learned is that's what the program has taught her, is to is to be open and honest about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't. And we were dating. It had been about a year and a half, and I'm driving down the road, and I bumped into somebody, just a little fender bender, didn't do any work damage, and I'm begging the person not to call the police, because I know back in the back of my head I'm probably driving on a suspended license, you know. And they were like, no, we need to call the police in case something's wrong, and they did, and they ran my name, and the next thing you know, I'm in handcuffs and going to jail.
Yep.
They had a warrant for my arrest, and I go in and thinking I was going to get right back out just because of my name, who I was, and who I knew, and went in and went in front of a judge the next morning, and he put me in for 30 days, locked me up for 30 days, and in that time while I was in there, Christy had access to my iPad, she had access to my phone, she had access to my bank accounts and everything, and she saw, and she did research, and she saw the destruction of gambling had done to me and how bad it was. I mean, it was $40,000 in 3 months, you know, that I was gambling away. I mean, she saw where I had avoided going to see my kids because I couldn't afford to do this or that, and I was lying to my kids about why I couldn't go, and she just found out all the lies.
Yeah. And
you know, we're in there and we're talking on the phone a couple of times, and she would say, the only way you're coming back home is you go into a 12-step program. And I'm like, I don't, you know, I'm adamantly against it still, and that was early on while I was there, and towards the end I finally broke down and said, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to stay in this. And so the day I got out was 5/17/2018. And she found the Gamblers Anonymous program, because I didn't want to go somewhere she was, like in AA, and have to talk, you know, the two of you. Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
And so I went in, and it was amazing. I heard stories at a new member meeting in GA. Everybody there's only 3 or 4 or 5 people there. It's a real small community, and everybody tells a part of their story that first meeting, and they all tell, you know, something about them, and I'm hearing in there everything I've done, and I've never heard anybody talk like that, you know, that they've done what I've done. I never thought anybody else was like me, you know, that had this bad issues and these darkest secrets, and I'm just, all of a sudden, tears just start running down my face, and one of the guys in there, he looks at me and goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "You know, I'm lost. I need help." And he goes, "That's the first thing you said right since you've been in here." And so I opened up and told him a lot of stuff that happened, and that day changed my life. And that day brought me to my knees and asked for forgiveness, and started opening up. Now I'm still not an open book like Christy is. So she's got 22 years sober now, and I'm not near.
Her. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not near on her level of openness and the honesty thing. I still lie by omission, I think, is my big one that I do. You know, we fight about that all the time. If I don't tell you something, is that really a lie? You know, and I say no. Of course I do. But I'm working on it. You know, I've started the 12 steps again. I firmly believe in the program. I know that sounds cultish, but I firmly believe in 12 steps to recovery. I can't drink and I can't gamble. If I do, destruction's going to happen. My life's a lot better. Like I said, we bought a house in November together. We got engaged a little over a year ago. We're getting married in 3 weeks. My kids and I's relationship is amazing now. They call me up. I used to be a Facebook dad. I would put pictures up on Facebook and talk about me and them being together and how great it was. But that was lies, you know. It was just pictures my ex-wife would take and send me, and I would put them up like they were with me and want people to see how great of a dad I was. But that wasn't true. Now it's true. Now they call me with problems with boys, and they call me, and if they need some money, I can actually give them some money and take care of them, and I could I'm therefore more emotionally than I am monetarily the way I used to be, and I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And just I had a relapse on gambling a little over a year ago. I had started up in Georgia. We have a couple of, it's called the South Georgia Group. There's 3 meetings, and everything went dark for a while with COVID, and I created a Georgia Zoom group for Gamblers Anonymous, and I got it going on the online, and we were having so many people in there, and my head was just getting bigger and bigger, ego, and it turned into how many people I could get into groups and how many people I could be sponsoring and all this, and it was never I lost the recovery aspect of it, and I was just wanting to be the big guy in the group, and I was the most important person in this group of that, and I just said fuck it, and got online and gambled for about 3 months, and I would go back in the rooms and I would lie about my date, and I would tell them my clean date was 5/17/2018, and finally I broke, and Christy found out, and I told her, and she said, you got to go in that room and change your date and tell everybody. And so we had a meeting, and I came clean and let everybody ask me questions, and it was a powerful meeting, and it got me back on the right track, and now I feel like I'm doing it for the right reasons now, and so that's about it. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but that's where I am right now, and I'm hoping to continue on. So.
Awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations on your upcoming wedding.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And definitely give your fiance, future wife, our congratulations, because what you said, 22 years.
I can get her to come on one day.
Absolutely, yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely have her on. Well, we definitely have some questions for you.
Please do.
I guess I will start.
As you always do.
As I always do. All right. I want to start with a fun question. Since you are a Southern gentleman, born and raised,
yes,
and we are Yankees to the layman, what do you find weird about Northerners, people up north?
To me, they're not as nice.
That's true.
100% agree.
That's 100% true.
I don't know if that's weird or what, but it's just
totally true.
I don't understand why people are so angry.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it either. But yeah,
why is it so bad up there that you've got to be pissed off?
I don't know. I think maybe the weather has something to do with it. Like we have harsher winters, and I don't know. But yeah, Southern hospitality is a real thing, and Northern aggression is also a real thing.
It's terrible.
I don't get it, but yeah, and the more north you go, the worse it gets. You go up to New York, people they'll just step on you and just keep walking.
Yeah. Seems that way.
It's very weird. All right. So, well, not so fun question. Very real question. I guess.
I didn't answer in a fun way, did I?
No, it's fine. No, it's totally true. Like, it is just a weird thing about, like, the Northeast. We are just angry people.
Yeah.
It's more stress, faster life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like that. I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses.
There is no excuse to be rude. No excuse to be rude.
No excuse to be rude. Everybody in the Northeast listening, let's do better, because the Southern people are putting us to shame with their hospitality. Okay, so real question. So in Gambling Anonymous, is it basically like, is it similar to like drugs and alcohol, where it's a strict abstinence-based program? Or is there a moderation? Like if you just went and bought a lottery ticket, is that gambling? Is that a relapse?
Yes. All right, I'll read you the definition of gambling by Gamblers Anonymous.
Perfect.
Any betting or wagering for self or others, whether for money or not, no matter how slight or insignificant, where the outcome is uncertain or depends upon chance or skill, constitutes gambling.
Okay.
So basically anything you do, flip of a coin, lottery, bingo, anything, that end is considered by GA, Gamblers Anonymous. Now it's kind of like any other program. It's your program, so you make your rules. But but if you ask somebody that's pretty staunch in GA, they'll be pretty strict with it. There's a guy in my program who basically says, if you got to think about it, then it's probably gambling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, like, I want to like pick that a little bit because I have no experience with it. Like, I've gambled every once in a while, but like it's never been like a real issue. It's never been unmanageable. So is it similar in Gamblers Anonymous? Like, do you ever deal with people who are not necessarily like full-blown gambling addicts and they just dabble and they can keep it manageable?
Yeah. Yes, I have dealt with that. There's a list of 20 questions GA asks, and it's all this, does this cause you to gamble? And it's kind of an assessment test type thing. And
okay.
And it says if you answer 7 of these 20 questions, then you probably have a gambling problem. But it's only you can make that decision.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, yeah. At some point in time, like we had a meeting about this the other day, and I shared. I think that if you play fantasy football or whatever, I think I could be okay doing that right now for a while till I'm not.
Yeah.
At some point in time, it's gonna, a big win or something's gonna trigger me to all of a sudden going all in again. I'm an addict, so I only know about me. I go, I believe in the old adage: if you're not going to go all out, don't go out at all. What's the point of going to have a beer when you can have, a bottle of beer? I drank to get drunk. I didn't, I gambled to win a lot of money. I didn't gamble just to, just for the fun of it.
All right. Great answer. All right, Carly, what do you got?
All right. So you mentioned that your fiance was the one that kind of caught you in the lie about your relapse. So how difficult was it to get honest after that relapse?
It was one of the hardest things to do, was to get in that room and admit that I relapsed and lied. I don't think admitting I relapsed was as hard as admitting I lied about it for the whole time, for 3 months in meetings. I felt like I was kind of a leader in the meetings, and I was probably sponsoring 6 people at the time in GA, and I let them down. And that's there just weren't a lot of, and so. I lost a lot of those. They left. They checked out of the program, or they checked out of me, and
wow.
And so, yeah, it was. It wasn't easy.
Yeah,
it's one of the harder things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want to talk about really like the transition from addiction to recovery. Like when we're in addiction, we're just like you said, your ex-wife was a party or two. So we have a culture in our lives that we're surrounded by people who are doing the same things that we're doing. So when we're coming into recovery, we sort of have to do that same thing. We have to change our own culture and put ourselves around people who are doing what we want to accomplish in recovery. So how difficult is that in dealing with your alcoholism and your gambling, of really changing your surroundings of people who are in the thick of addiction to now in the thick of recovery?
You lose a lot of friends. I'm sure y'all know, or a lot of so-called friends from it. I probably have 1 or 2 friends from my past that I've still talked to and that understand it. But nowadays, my friends come from GA or from her program. She goes to AA all the time, and I associate with a lot of those people because I relate. And so I would say, I hang out with them, and I lost a lot of friends through it. I had to cut it off. I can't be around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says in the Gamblers Anonymous, their big book, but it's a 17-page pamphlet. It says, don't go in or near gambling establishments. Don't associate with people who gamble. Don't gamble for anything. And, that don't associate with people who gamble, that kind of cuts you off right there. So
Yeah, totally. All right, Carly.
All right. So you mentioned how with the pandemic, like starting the group kind of got to your head a little bit, but has the social media benefited your recovery in any way since you're from a small area?
Oh, yeah. The Zoom meetings and the Facebook groups and all, that's my family now. We haven't gone back to in-person meetings yet. We're strictly still doing Zoom, and I couldn't. We've got people from all over the world now. We probably have 25, 26 people on a regular basis in our meetings, and probably 3 of them are from Georgia.
Oh, wow.
3 or 4 of them are from Georgia. The others are from all over the country. We got a couple from England, a couple from Ireland.
Awesome.
And it's amazing. Where, these people I wouldn't have ever met. And, a few of them are coming to my wedding, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
And just the resources it gives people. Like, I could send people a literature via email or text nowadays that wasn't there when I came into the program. You had to be in person and get a hand, give it to you by hand, text message and phone lists to people, and they can call people anywhere in the country. WhatsApp groups that we've created, we got a 10-step WhatsApp group where people talk about stuff every day, their resentments
That's
or
awesome.
and all that kind of stuff. So, that's how my head got big. I get creative with things, and I took it and I ran with it, and everybody thought, I don't know. I just like I'm cocky. I'm an egotistical addict, and that's what got me. So I have to check myself a lot of times.
All right. My last question is, how did, in your story, the lack of consequences and having your parents bail you out of situations, how did that really fuel your addiction, and really just further your problems and make everything worse through just having people enable your alcoholism and your gambling?
I don't know fully that. I think I'm an addict, born addict. I kind of believe that I had a gene. My grandfather probably had it. My dad, I know, was a compulsive gambler and alcoholic, untreated, and but just getting away with everything and thinking you're unbreakable. That nobody, having that's a good thing and a bad thing living in a town where everybody.
Yeah.
You get away with whatever you want, but it also has its good things, if you need something, you can make a phone call and get it done. But it sure taught me that I could get away with whatever until I can't. And if I never got caught at that time, I still would be. I would probably be back drinking, and then I know I would still be gambling. So,
all right.
So it fueled it a lot.
All right. You got any more questions, Carly?
Nope, we're good.
All right, Jake. Well, I think you were off the hot seat, and we would like
Can I
to.
leave it on one note?
Absolutely.
Can I tell a little story? I think you probably heard this, but I always tell it whenever I share in a GA meeting. So one time, it's kind of hypothetical, but so one time I'm walking down the road and I fall into a hole in the sidewalk and I'm stuck and I can't get out. I can't get out of that hole. And about that time, a priest walks by. And I said, "Priest, can you help me out?"
Yeah.
He, throws me a couple of Hail Marys and says a prayer and keeps on walking. I'm still stuck. But 30 minutes later, a doctor walks by and I said, "Doc, help me out. I can't get out." doc writes me a couple of scripts, and throws them down, and that doesn't do me any good. I'm still stuck in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes later, a guy from my meeting walks by, Ray. He walks by, and he looks down, and he says, "You okay?" I said, "No, I'm stuck down here, and I can't get out." And instead of helping me, he jumps down in the hole. And I said, "What the hell did you do that for? We're both down here." And he goes, "Well, hell, I've been down here before, and I know the way out."
Yeah.
That's what these meetings and these programs are, is it's a way out. And if people are listening and they're lost and they're struggling,
yeah,
get into a meeting, ask for help. The hardest 2 words, and I think I might have heard it on this podcast, 2 of the hardest words ever to say is, 3 words: I need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is so true. And so it's just it's sad that people don't like to ask for help, and the help's there. You just got to look for it. So,
yep.
And thank y'all for what y'all do. Y'all help a lot of people.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. And that's actually one of my favorite recovery quote unquote proverbs, I guess, because
yes.
it's not like what somebody can do for you, like religion or psychiatry or whatever. It's really just somebody who's exactly like you, willing to get down in the hole with you,
exactly,
and get in that foxhole, and both of you fight your way out. And it's just it's a beautiful way of life, recovery.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you all so much for what you do.
Absolutely. We would like to thank you for joining us today.
Woo! All right.
Yay! Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Hey, y'all didn't ask me one question.
Oh, we did?
One thing y'all didn't ask me. Which one's harder to quit?
Oh, okay. Which one was harder to quit?
It's a question people always ask if they're dual addicts. We ask this in GA, and it's on probably 95% of people that we ask that are dual addicts, whether it's drugs and gambling or alcohol and gambling.
Yeah.
Gambling's always the harder one to quit. And the reason behind that is it's so secretive. It's the invisible addiction. It's the one that you can sit next to somebody on your phone and you can gamble and nobody knows it. Mm-hmm. You don't smell it. You don't see it. There's not anything out there that shows that you're gambling if they don't have access to your finances. Yeah. And it's killing people left and right.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And on that, that's one analogous thing I found with drug addicts, gamblers, and sex addicts. It's really hidden. It's always behind closed doors. Meanwhile, alcoholism is usually pretty out in the open. People see what you're doing, and it's easier to tell and it's easier to spot. But it's those
exactly.
It'd be pretty weird if the sex was not behind closed doors and you were just doing it out in the open.
Well, I'm sure that's a problem.
It was oh my god, there's an issue here, and it's what the fuck are you talking about, man?
That's definitely an issue. That would be a bigger issue for sure. Dude, this is a fucking public bus, man. Put it away.
All right. Anyway, I'll stop now. That's.
All right. Well, here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. And real quick, we want to give Jake an opportunity, if you're comfortable, letting people know where they can find you and some of your meetings or Zoom meetings or whatever.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Fincher_Jake is my Twitter handle. And I post meetings on Reddit and Facebook groups of problem gambling or Gamblers Anonymous programs. I post meetings whenever we have them. We have Monday night and Thursday night on Zoom at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Anybody's welcome if they have a problem with gambling. Nice. We will take you.
Awesome. Well, we are happy to get that out there. And everybody, all the listeners, please go check out Jake for sure. Keep listening to us on, obviously, and Redo. Let me rewind a little bit. You can find us on Google Play. You can find us on iTunes. You can find more about us on podcastrecovery.com. Like, share, subscribe on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those good places. And help us keep the mics on. Join the Podcast Recovery family and get to our Patreon. Throw us a few shekels like our good friend Jake here. And we appreciate it. But most importantly, everybody out there,
stay safe and stay clean.